Well, hello, 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 everyone. I hope that you guys are having an awesome and amazing Wednesday. As you know, it's Wisdom Wednesdays, and I am Natalie Cousins. So, you guys, I have just had a heartful week this week. Um, First of all, it was Easter weekend. And I spent majority of my time just reflecting, looking back at my last quarter and all that great stuff. But there's no greater feeling than when you know that you're on the right path. And hello, Bobby. There's no greater feeling than when you know that you're on the right path and you know that you're in your purpose and you're serving in your purpose. So I wanted to just talk about authenticity. So as you guys know, every month I have different themes and so on and different subjects that I like to focus on. And this month is all about your success is my business. But more importantly, everyone's success matters. And it's just a matter of the different levels of where people are at in their business, so on and so forth. So I wanted to talk about I wanted to talk particularly to real estate agents tonight, because a lot of times we get into business or we go into a certain career because of the money, right? And what ends up happening is when the money doesn't start coming in, then we start chiming out, right? And it could be for many different reasons. But I know that if you are not authentic and if you're not true to yourself and if you don't know why you're doing something or if it's really just the money, then later on down the road, hiccups start to happen. And so, you know, authenticity for me is not necessarily being vulnerable, but it is more of sticking to the true you and who you are and what you're about. And I know for myself, I'm very transparent, probably sometimes too transparent, if I might say so myself, or I might be a little bit too open. But at the end of the day, depending on your industry and depending on where you're at, you've got to be authentic. So when I first started in the real estate industry, I started off in new home sales. So I didn't need to work for the leads to come to me. The leads would come from the builder. So there was no necessarily hard work there. I think the hardest part was showing up on time and being able to deliver. But when I did become a licensed real estate agent, I was brand new in my territory, brand spanking new in my territory. I didn't know anyone from the area, but I knew that my main why was that I needed to provide for my family. And so, first thing that popped up for me is that I'm going against seasoned agents in the industry. And how am I going to be able to set myself apart? And the first thing was being authentic. So I remembered a girlfriend of mine in the industry, she showed me a lead system. And I said to myself, okay, great. I have the leads. How am I going to close the leads? And so I started to ponder and I started to think, because I had been coming from an interior design background, which really technically for real estate sales had nothing to do with it, at least so I thought. And so, I was thinking, okay, I like real estate. I like selling real estate. But I knew that it was going to be a quick way for me to get my feet wet in the industry. And I knew that it would be definitely different from working with a real new home builder. Sorry. So I had to craft and I had to think what was going to set me apart. And so as I started taking these lead calls, obviously your first couple of calls when they come in, or if you're cold calling for sale by owners, it's not going to be as smooth. But they say practice becomes perfect. And I thought to myself, well, cold calling is one, but how am I going to be able to do this to where I get comfortable? And it was just me being my authentic self, right? So buyers would call me. I would speak to the buyers on the phone. I would have my little script that I would say to them. And remember, it's a cold lead, because at the end of the day, you're not necessarily seeing the buyer. The buyer might see you online with your online profile, your profile picture, but they don't really know you. But my main goal was to at least get out there with that buyer and to show them their first property that they have interest in, and then woosh them from there. And so in order for me to win these buyers over, I had to be authentic. I had to start off with a little introduction once I got out to the property with them, saying who I am, where I'm from, and using my top skills as an interior designer to be able to sell this property. So sometimes when you are going into a new business or you're venturing out, just be your authentic self for your business, so that way your ideal clients or customers that you're working with will be able to see why they want to work with you and understand why you're in the business. So even if they're just meeting you for the first time, you have a story to tell. And so that's what I did. I basically was authentic to who I am. I gave my story, gave my brand, and why I got into real estate. And even though I was foreign to the territory, that no longer mattered to the client, because they, in a short space of time, they were able to see how I got into real estate, why I love it, why I do it, and why they should work with me. And 9 times out of 10, the buyer would actually sign the buyer agreement because of my authenticity. So that being said, this month is all about your success and your business and what you've got to do to capitalize yourself, to be able to carve yourself out from the rest. So even if it is a saturated market, even if you're new to the industry, there's enough pieces of the pie to go around for us all to survive. And it's simple. You've just got to be able to sit down, look at yourself, look at your competition, and figure out what's going to make you different, or what sets you apart different from them, in order for you to capitalize the sale, or working with that buyer and getting them to sign a buyer's agreement. And so when I bring this all up to say that you've got to have your audience, right? And you want to be able to know what your audience wants to hear from you. So me being new in the industry at the time, I primarily worked with buyers, because I just wasn't ready to dive into the market for listings anyway. And I felt that I would be able to capitalize on buyers and be able to warm up to them more, because I had a story to tell. And 9 times out of 10, my buyers were new to the city too. So we were learning the city together. Now, when you go through and you look at everything that you have to offer to your clients, you now have to remember that once you meet with them, you've got to be able to figure out how you're going to have touch points with them and what it is that you're going to do. So our goal in life is to just make more money, right? That's what we tell ourselves, and that's what everybody's main goal is for going into business, whether you apply for a job, or whether you specifically start a new venture in life, or whatever the case may be. So everyone's goal is to make money. But the real thing that you have to look at when you're in business is, yes, we all want to make money. We all want to live comfortable. But if we want to keep making money in our industry, we need to make sure that we create loyal, long-term clients who are going to be eager to work with us time and time again. And so, yes, at first, when we start in any industry and we get the sales, we're happy, and then we move on to the next customer, and then the next customer. So if you are looking to just be in the rat race, and I use this example is when I used to work for, hey Twyla, when I used to work for the telecommunications company, and I was a salesperson. So basically what would end up happening is, as a salesperson, I was on an outbound dialer, and I'd have to be dialing the list to sell telephones. And so as a sales rep, all I was doing was just taking the next call and the next call. If that person didn't buy, then at the end of the day, I would move on to the next call. So you've got to be able to not be a transaction real estate agent. The whole point of being able to survive in this industry, whether we want to admit it or we don't want to admit it, is repeat business and referrals. That's what's going to keep us alive, and that's what's going to help us to stay alive and make the money that we need to make. But that being said, how are you going to create those loyal customers? How are you going to have long-term clients who are eager to work with you over and over again? It's all on how you treat them in the transaction that you are working on them with. And this is a major fail for most. So back to the working in the call center and being a sales rep. So you're on the phone, you keep on taking calls, you keep on selling. And at first it's just like, okay, that person didn't buy, so you move on to the next. And that person didn't buy and you moved on to the next. And then I noticed that everyone was wanting to sell the high paying telephones because at the end of the day, those were the ones that sold the highest commission at the time. And when we would get to the elderly list dialer, nobody wanted to work on that dialer. And they didn't want to work on that dialer because they weren't able to sell to that market. So I paused, took a look at the list, and thought, what products do we have here to sell? And when I looked at my dialer list, okay, these are elderlies. They don't want the latest cordless phones. They don't want, at the time it was Vista 350. So if I'm dating myself, that's fine. But it just to show you the era that we were in. Elderly people don't want that. I mean, they might have wanted a cordless phone. So if their grandkids are calling and things like that, they'd have the phone with them. But my number one seller on that dialer was big button phones. Because at the end of the day, the grandparents just want to be able to dial their grandchildren. They don't want to have to figure out how to use these new phones with call waiting and three-way calling at that time. They just wanted to open their phone book, look up grandbaby Jesse's number, and dial it so that they could speak to them. So that's how I was killing sales in the telecommunications industry, is I was selling big button phones to the audience that needed it. So what commonly happens in the real estate industry is we are not looking at our audience. We are just looking at it as a transaction. So we say to ourselves, this year after broker split, I want to make $150,000, or I want to sell 80 homes this year. And it's by fine dandy however many homes you want to sell during the year, but we all treat our clients or customers as transactions. And so in market research, when you go back and you start talking to some of these people and you say, when you listed, did you list with the person, with the agent that you bought from? And on a scale of 10, 6 would say no, they did not. And when you ask them why they did not list with the person that they bought the home from, the number one reason is they didn't stay in contact, or I haven't heard from them, or, I just didn't have a connection with them. And some of the common complaints were, I only seen that agent when it was the listing presentation and maybe at the closing table to collect the check. That doesn't resonate very well, because at the end of the day, the baby boomers are selling to downsize, right? So they're moving into condos. And then what ends up happening is their children who have just been married, just had kids, are now looking to buy. They're going to call up their parents and they're going to say, hey, mom and dad, I think me and Rick are ready to purchase. What was the name of your agent? And they're not even going to remember you because you missed milestones, right? That's like not knowing the age that your child first walked or said their first words as a parent, right? So you've got to be able to carve yourself out. You've got to be able to build a reputation for yourself in the industry that carves you out different. So who cares if the market is saturated? Who cares if there's 40,000 registered realtors right now in Ontario? Who cares if in the United States the real estate is booming? What sets you apart? What makes you different that's going to be able to have you getting those long-term customers, getting those loyal customers who are going to give you referrals and continue to have you handle their real estate for X amount of years? That being said, the amount of times that I've ran into investors who never presented themselves as investors, but they wanted to look at the relationship. They wanted to see, how was I as a real estate agent, and how was I going to be able to handle their sales. And if they look at you and they say their first 48 hours for them to know if they're going to work with a real estate agent is what happens the minute that they have that conversation and they are able to speak with that person to say, I'm looking to sell a home. They don't divulge that they have series of properties that need to be listed. They just talk about the one. And I've been trained that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So my immediate thing is, I've got this card from this investor. We've sat down, we've talked. He's expressed possibly having me list his property. What's the first thing that I'm going to do? Well, I'm going to get back to my home office, depending on what's happening with my day. I'm either going to make a reminder in my phone, call up my VA assistant, something to remind me that I need to get my package out to this investor, right? Within a certain amount of time, because he could be interviewing other people, so on and so forth. So the one investor that I went back to speak to, he particularly explained to me after doing my market research that most real estate agents don't necessarily bite the bullet. If they think that it's not something that's happening today or tomorrow, it goes to the wayside and then it's forgotten about. So the main lesson here, guys, is you've got to be able to treat these clients, these customers, these investors, whoever it is that you're working with, as if they are the creme de la creme in your CRM or in your customer relationship manager. You've got to be able to have a follow-up system. You've got to be able to have touch points, because what ends up happening is on the front end, because it's not instant sales and it's not instant business, you put them in the back end and it wrecks your instant gratification with that buyer or with that seller. And so I'm saying this to say that also has to do with relationship marketing. So if you want 3 times the exposure, if you want to be able to close 2 or 3 times more the deals that you've closed a year, you've got to really take an inventory of how you are currently doing things and how you need to clean that up. And so this whole month is all about Your Success is My Business. I've already posted that. I have a free webinar at the end of this month. I believe it is the 25th, which is Wednesday at 8 p.m., where I talk about relationship marketing. I talk about the importance of it, what it is that you need to do to stand out. We talk about the most effective and authentic way to grow your business authority as well as your visibility. And I want to talk about social media. In my 90-day program, I do have some clients who say, I'm not used to social media. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with it. I'm not sure where to go with it. And I want to tell you that social media right now, whether you want to believe it or not, is the way to go. Video marketing, all of the online platforms are going to be what's taking over for you to be able to be authentic, show who you are, and get people to know you, because you need certain touch points before they'll even act upon it. And, if you're a real estate agent right now and you don't have a website that's converting leads, if you don't have a brand that sets you apart from others in your brokerage firm, then you need to be able to join me on my webinar on Wednesday to learn 7 ways that you can be able to build relationship marketing that's going to transpire and turn into cash. Okay? Everything takes time. Everything takes a process, but you need the navigation and you need the blueprint to be able to get you there, folks. And so it's very important to understand that it doesn't matter if you're new in the industry or if you're seasoned in the industry. The time is now to get focused on how to build those relationships that are going to turn into money. Okay? I can't stress enough that I was new in a cold market. I did not know anybody. I didn't know the neighbor to be able to say, here's my business card, I'm in real estate. I just did a mail out. I learned what I could offer to a buyer. I focused on one end of the real estate deal to start. And within my first 3 months, I closed 6 deals in a cold market of nobody knowing who I am. I never had a sign. I never door knocked. I never did anything. That was me converting sales through authenticity on my phone calls to those leads coming in. And initially, when I took them out to see their first property, I was able to sum up who I am, what I do, and show them ways of why buying that house was the perfect house for them with the questionnaires that I was asking. So the time for you to get focused and the time for you to be able to build all the things that you need to do to get your business making 3 times what you were making in the past is all about having a system and a formula in place. It's all about brand and authenticity. And it's also the number one way that people are holding themselves back is because they're not having loyalty to their customers. As soon as the deal closes, they move on to their next transaction. And we all know that those are what we call transaction deals, or it's like being a transaction broker, because you're not able to retain your customer. So I talk about ways of having client retention. There's also some of us who are reluctant to delegate. So you'll meet some agents who don't want to get a transaction coordinator. They don't want to be able to delegate some of the minutia stuff or the things that drain them down in their business so they can focus on income generating. And so they get the burnout and they get the overwhelm. And it's time for us to stop that, and it's time for us to change that. So that being said, folks, I want you guys to be able to register at my website, and I'll post the link in the chat in the next few minutes. But the webinars that I offer, they are free, totally complimentary for you to be able to come, learn, figure out how you need to clean or hone in on what areas of your business you need to be able to change so that you are able to get where you need to go, get ahead, and be in top of your competition. And I say in top and in front of your competition. So at this webinar that's happening on Wednesday, April the 25th at 8 p.m., it is 5 simple ways to build relationships. Okay, we talk about authenticity that we're going to use to grow your visibility and grow your brand. We talk about why social media marketing is never a waste of time. And even if you're only using 2 platforms, how you're going to be able to use those to leverage your business and grow your business. We also want to talk about the number one way that we're holding ourselves back is lack of loyalty, lack of retention, and lack of customer service. And we talk about ways to stand out and become unforgettable even in a saturated market. And I'm here to tell you with my own testimony that you don't need to be a seasoned agent. You could be brand new in the industry and be successful. And if you are seasoned in the industry and you're not actually seeing those results, or you want to change the way that you're doing things, then you need to join this webinar. So the website is nataliecousins.com/relationship building. Okay. Again, it's April the 25th, Wednesday. So same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you'll be able to register there for free. As well, with that registration, you'll also get the workbook that will have you sit down and formulate the areas and take inventory of areas that you need to improve. So the first step is showing up. That's all I can say to you guys. The time to get effective in your business. Stop hiding behind your computer or stop hiding behind letters and direct mail, and figure out a way for you to use the social media platforms that you're already using and loving to get your authenticity and to stand out from the crowd and the competition in the saturated market in this real estate industry. Now, the great thing about this is it doesn't matter where you are in the world. The webinar is available worldwide. So if you have friends or family that's in the real estate industry, you want to be able to see them carve out and make 3 times the income, 3 times the numbers that they had last year, go ahead and share the link. This link is worldwide. It's international. I'm open to all. I'm global. Okay, so share the word, get it out there, and you just want to make sure that you join me for that. And last but not least, I did want to say that I know sometimes everyone wants to ask questions. They might be sure to ask it on the Facebook Lives. So I have access to you. I now have open house on Fridays. It's called Free for All Fridays, where you book your discovery call with me online. And I will also open up the Facebook Live as well for about 30 minutes a day on Fridays to be able to talk to you guys. A lot of us have questions. Hey, and a lot of us want to be able to get out of the rut that we are in. And like I said before, the main focus and the main goal for us to be able to have good business, long-term income is to have long-term clients, loyal clients that are going to refer us and give us repeat business as well as increase our income. So I hope that this all served you guys well. And as usual, I will be back same time and same place next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Again, I am Natalie Cousins. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm your business consultant and your business BFF. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and you have an awesome and amazing night. Bye for now.